What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Analytically Correct. Marty here with Rob, as always, and Stretch producing. We're going to get into a couple of things we missed. We weren't on last week, so we're going to talk about a couple of things. It might be a little bit old, but I mean, it's just a week. And a couple of things about the NBA coming back and baseball and all that. But I wanted to start with, I think, before the Mahomes contract, I don't think we're going to spend too much time on the first thing I want to talk about, which is Cam Newton going to the Patriots. I just wanted to start off by getting your thoughts on that, Rob. I didn't hear anybody really saying anything negative about it, so I haven't heard anything that you have to say on it. Is there anything you can find other than, I mean, it's a good move. It's super cheap. They're not really risking anything.
I was really happy to see it. I thought that was going to be the match there. Because especially once Chicago got Foles, I didn't think Chicago would be a fit for him then at that point because obviously they have a loaded backfield. But like when you look at Cam, I've always had this like fascination with what Cam Newton and what McDaniels could do together. You know, it's just a very like if he can improve Cam's accuracy and he looks like he was 2 years ago and he can stay healthy. But I feel like those are ifs we bring up a lot for a quarterback with 2 shoulder surgeries and a foot surgery. You know. But at the same time, I mean, I think the Patriots made the right move. You can't rub and Stidham.
Yeah, I think the only negative part about that I had about the whole story was I actually really like Cam Newton, and to see him go to the Patriots, I just can't root for the Patriots to continue to be good every year. I mean, it's not a big deal. The Lions aren't going to win anyways, but I'll definitely be rooting for him to succeed. I know the only negatives that you can bring up once you pull the price into it, which it was like 1.175 million, and it's just a 1 year deal. So that's the only negative thing you can say. I've heard people say, "Oh, he lost his last 8 starts in a row," and that's over the course of 2 seasons. You're taking the first 2 games of one season when he had a foot injury, which he wound up missing the rest of the season for, and then the last 8 games of a season when he had a shoulder injury. And the issue with him for his career, not only just the fact that he got hit so much and he wound up getting injured, he always tried to get through the injury without getting the surgery. And it works for some guys, but when you get hit how he gets hit, sometimes it would have been better for him just to take a full season off, get the surgeries that he needed and to come back. I mean, there was so many seasons where going into it, it was like, is he going to get the surgery? Is he not? And then it would be like a month before the season and he wound up getting the surgery. So that would be my only downside. I mean, I've heard people say, well, he lost his last 8 games, but at the same time, like you said, you can't go into it with just Jarrett Stidham. And I know it's just Instagram, but if you watch some of the videos of him working out and stuff like that, like he looks like he's super jacked. He looks like a superhero. And like I said, I know it's just workout videos, but yeah, I was just seeing if there was any negative side that.
Like we've never questioned how like the dude looks the shirt off. Like obviously,
right?
Like, he's like
yeah, it's not. You'd be more surprised if he came back looking like Roethlisberger or something.
Yeah,
like
that. Like if he lost a bunch of weight and he came in, you'd be like, okay, like this is like. But you know, I mean, he looks. I think he's in a better situation. I know some people are out there like that. People vocally voiced the annoyance with what he was getting paid, and I was just like, you know, obviously it's a salary cap issue. Cam Newton, and it's a prove it year because if he does well this year, he wins 10 games in New England. There's gonna be a team that's gonna want to pay him. You know, there's teams like like I said, Chicago. I still feel like is a fit for him with restructuring Nick Foles' contract. They've saved money. They're gonna say bye Trubisky next year. I don't see any way Trubisky comes back.
Yeah, I was going down the list of like quarterbacks who are making more than him. Every paid more than him. The story was to hear that only 2 teams, it was the Browns and the Patriots. Those are only 2 teams that even talked to him. And I understand that a lot of teams had their quarterback set. And I don't know if it was out there whether or not he would accept a backup spot or not. But if he would have taken a spot for even like 3 million or something like that, like even if you're a team that's set at quarterback, you have a possibility where you can have the best backup quarterback in the league. And now we're going into a season where there's like a pandemic going on. If your quarterback is out for 2 weeks, or if your whole quarterback room gets it or something like that, I mean, I just think that even if the Lions would have gotten him, it's not like Stafford has any shortage of injuries. But like I said, you don't know if he would have like not wanted a backup job. But
And the thing
for
with
more money,
like
who knows?
The thing with New England that's really good about it is the fact that it's not a dumpster fire organization. It's just not. It's not. You're not gonna have the issues like you do in Cleveland, New England. You're not gonna have the issues that go on Detroit or in Jacksonville that go on in New England. I mean, it's a real run well franchise, and him being a part of that, I think, is really going to help him out also in the long run too. If he plays well, Bill Belichick's word's going to get out if he can play, and if he plays well and he can get, I think he's lined up himself the best chance to get another job. And same thing with Jameis Winston. Like when he did that with New Orleans, I was like, when it comes to getting another job, it's like, what's the point of going to Jacksonville playing for a shit team and you're just out there who's run the ball, who's protecting you? You're gonna have a bad season. Everyone's gonna hold that season against you. It's like just go with like a really good coach, learn for a year, or like get better for a year.
The only thing I would say about the Jameis thing is if Cam took less money and they for some way promised him to be the starter, and it's obviously a better organization than if you went to Jacksonville. But if Drew Brees doesn't get hurt and Jameis doesn't ever end up getting to play there, I mean, but I think Cam is going to have like the best opportunity to obviously showcase for another team next year. So I'd be surprised. This is like a Patriots move where if next year he winds up commanding like a $20 million from a team, like that won't be the Patriots. That'll be when they go with like a draft pick or a Stidham or something like that.
I mean, I will say I do think Jameis Winston is going to throw the football for New Orleans this year and in meaningful football games at some point. I don't believe that Drew Brees is going to stay healthy all year, and I don't believe in the Taysom Hill hype whatsoever. I've been really critical of Jameis Winston, but I also do want to see how if Sean Payton, it's still like he's with Sean Payton. If Sean Payton can help correct and this LASIK eye surgery is really as great as they were saying it was for him, then you can see a guy who, he gunslings. Problem is he throws 30 interceptions, but you take away, it's like the funny thing everyone says, you take away his interceptions, he's an MVP quarterback. It's like, yeah,
right.
You can't just take them away though. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just take them away. And the New Orleans offense is so predicated on precision too. Like all those Michael Thomas throws, like a lot of it is Michael Thomas, but a lot of it is Drew Brees getting to catch it. And so you take away. Oh, I think we're a little in. I don't know. If you take away, if like you said, you take away the interceptions, but you take away the precision, like how Drew Brees has, those Michael Thomas receptions aren't always going to be there.
Also, if Teddy Bridgewater can win games for the Saints, I think Jameis Winston can as well. So that's that in itself as well. I'm not taking Teddy Bridgewater, but I'm also going to say Jameis Winston is, in my opinion, better than Teddy Bridgewater. Like I think I
know what you mean too about that. You think he definitely will play some games, but it's not a guarantee. It's a high probability, but it's not a guarantee. So if he just sits there, but I think it was more than a 1-year deal too. So at some point he's going to get a chance to showcase. So yeah, basically the same thing. Nobody really had too much bad to say about it. I'm
happy to see it for sure.
Yeah, that's the thing that sucks is I want to root for him, but now he's on the Patriots.
Yeah.
But whatever. The Patrick Mahomes deal came out this week. I think that was the biggest news from this week. I think it was 10 years, $450 million per year. He's making only $5 million. I think next year he makes like $21 million. There's a year in 2027 when he's going to be making $59 million, which I thought was pretty funny.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Just looking over, which I was the only thing I could think about this too. Same thing as the first. How can you say anything bad about it? And I tried to see, since it was such a long deal with the 10 years for Patrick Mahomes, I was like, could he even, as crazy as it sounds, could he be leaving money on the table? Like, because if the salary cap goes up over that time, but like I said, in 2027 he'll be making $59 million. Like at the end of the deal, 3 years later, he's still making like 48. So even if the salary cap goes up, if you're going to guarantee,
it's a contract. It's a really smart contract because it pays him top dollar when he's going to be playing at top dollar. It's not going to pay him this absolute that's where contracts in baseball you see where guys are making 45. Albert Pujols is making $45 million, and you're like, okay, well he was once worth that, but he doesn't put the production like that anymore. It hit this contract when he's getting in 2027 at $60 million. Realistically, it's going to be still, hopefully, I still think it'll be the highest contract, but it's also going to be the contract where you're like, well, it's worth it. Patrick Mahomes.
Especially if the cap does end up going up, he'll be making 60, but for the team, they're talking right now because this year he's getting 5. Next year, I think he goes 21 or 22. But then they're also, I think the reason that they laid the contract out the way they did is next year they don't know, the cap could go down 75 million.
Yeah.
So if you don't give him, because it's an average of 45 million, but if you give him 45 million next year, he's taking up like 20% of your cap, and then you're screwed. He actually said a couple of things this week, which it was smart and happy for him to say, is you don't want to be one of those guys that takes up all the cap and then you can't make your team any better than it is.
Oh man, God, doesn't that sound good for a quarterback to say out loud?
Yeah, I mean, and you want him to say that, but like he took the deal that shows he actually believes that. Like Russell Wilson, I think, is still making more than him this year, next year, and maybe the year after. And you look at, as soon as they paid Russell Wilson that money, look what happened to the team around him. They're still pretty good. They'll make the playoffs, but that's only because of Russell Wilson. They were making Super Bowls because of him and the defense.
It is, and that's, I mean, it's just for him to be understanding of that. I don't know. It's like it's a 10-year contract when it gets offered to you. You almost try to take it as much, like more times than you don't. Realistically, as an athlete, you would feel like, because you have more security. But obviously, the contract's very friendly towards him as well. But it's also team friendly in the fact that, like you said, it's not going to be rated. It's not going to be prorated off the salary cap. He's not getting a percentage off any of that. So it's like it's not. He's going to be fixed on the salary cap rising or anything. So it's big, big on, like you said, developing and keeping with it. And I mean, it's hard to say you don't think they win 2, maybe 3 more in the next 10 years. I mean, that's a good team. And he's
the only reason that you can say, the only point you can make against that is just like, it doesn't happen like that. Like you see teams win the Super Bowl every year, you're like, oh, they're going to definitely win next year. And you see more teams who make the Super Bowl not make the playoffs than they do make it to the Super Bowl again. Which is the only argument, which is always a dumb one, is, well, it's never happened before, so it can't happen. It can't happen now.
Yeah.
And I mean, the other thing he said, which I thought was hilarious, which he could just be bullshitting, but he doesn't seem like what reason does he have to lie at this point? Like he's got pretty much everything. Is last year he said he didn't even really know how to read defenses that well until halfway through the season. He was just kind of playing. Did you hear him say that?
Yeah, like it reminded me of when Brett Favre was like on, like the story that Brett Favre came out and said, "What the hell's a nickel?" And then and he's like, "What the hell's the cover 2?" Like he's asking, like, what are you talking about? Like, what is that? Like he had been like 2 years in the league and had no idea what a nickel defense was. He didn't know what it was. He got explained it to it. It was like
they didn't have Madden back then, I guess. I don't know.
It was just the fact that such a quarterback at such a dominant level really didn't know truly what to do yet. And then now it's like, oh, now I know like what to do and how good I'm at doing it.
But you have to kind of wonder about the that he can't read as quickly or as well as he wants to. But for him to say that, it's like we were talking about one of the weeks, I think, where some players get paid and that's just kind of it, like the contract is a destination. He seems like the kind of guy who isn't just going to get this contract and like not try anymore. It doesn't happen usually with quarterbacks anyways. It's usually for like offensive and defensive linemen and some receivers and stuff like that. But if you're the Chiefs, you're pretty much laughing at Cowboys fans right now. Not that this is what I wanted to bring the point into, is not that it's such a slam dunk for them to sign Dak. If you're the Chiefs, if you're a Chiefs fan, you're like, okay, we're set for the next 10 years. And if for any reason, if he tears both ACLs or whatever, after like 4 years of the contract, if they cut him, then it's 0 dead cap. So it's a team friendly deal in that way too. So pretty much there's no losers of this contract. I didn't think. How we can't get by without talking about Dak, obviously. How does it now affect the Dak contract, the way that, because there's, as much as I've been defending him and saying like just pay him, Stretch's motto has been pay Dak like Pat. I can't say it without laughing. But there's whatever the contract.
But he's a Giants fan, so like I can see why he wants that.
Whatever the contract is for Dak, there should be no season within that contract where Dak is making $59 million. I can tell you that right now. Like,
I think. I mean, it goes back to like the point. Like we could be looking at. I mean, I'm on the train of, hey, you know what? We can tag him and trade him next season. Have him play this season, because it's hard to imagine like what more does he need to do? Because he threw 40. Everyone's going to say what more does he need to do when it comes to numbers. And it's not that when people say pay him, he's like, people are trying to pay him. Like it's not like he turned down a pretty sizable deal already, 5-year $150. Like there's no reason to act like Dallas hasn't tried to pay him. But it's like there comes a point And like I said, you don't pay off. This is why I always get mad, and we always talk about this and paying off the market. And I'm like, it's BS, because just because some dumb teams overpay for quarterbacks like Mike Glennon in the past doesn't mean you need to follow that trend. It doesn't mean your teams need to follow trends of stupid teams that have done that. Typically, teams like that you just have just groups out there just throwing away money on such a premier thing like premier positions. But it's like you don't have to be that team and set your franchise back 4 or 5 years if the quarterback is only topped out.
It happens a lot more, I feel like, in the NBA, where there's always going to be those dumb teams. It's like, well, we missed out on this player in free agency, so now we have to give this guy $20 million a year. It's like, no, you can like roll the cap over, right? Like there's the floor, and then you can sign guys to cheap or you can sign guys to a bad deal, but make sure it's a 1-year deal. Like don't if you're saying for the Cowboys, like you could re-sign Dak, make it a 1 or a 2-year deal, but I'm sure he doesn't want to accept that. I did the math. I did the math before the podcast already. I was like, all right, if Dak gets paid like 75% of what Mahomes gets paid, that's still like the contract that they already offered him. Yeah. So what is he gonna ask for now? Like it just seems like everybody's gonna wind up unhappy. Like Cowboys fans are gonna be mad at the amount he makes, and then Dak is gonna be mad because he's not gonna get as much as he thought. He's probably pissed that Mahomes signed right now for that.
Like he's probably gonna want like a 5-year, $200 million deal now. And here's my thing, because Watson still hasn't been paid yet, and Watson, I think it's gonna come to a point where like teams are because each year you're finding like teams are replacing players because they're just getting better at drafting, and it's more quarterback talent keeps flooding in, and you're going to have to be really good to get paid soon. It's coming to that point. Like look at Cam Newton. Like 3 years ago, he would have gotten paid. Like if he hit free agency, without a doubt. Just some team would have paid him just because they were paying guys like that. I mean, who's the guy? Chase Daniels, and he's the one in Detroit. Yeah, I mean, like he's getting paid out there. You had Glennon. I mean, you just Fitzpatrick's still finding jobs consistently, and you're telling me
if we're getting into the point of a league where Cam Newton, Jameis Winston, and Fitzpatrick and all these guys, that's like the caliber of backup. Like I'm all for that league. Like if those guys are becoming backups and the starters are getting that much better, because there was a while there where we were talking about these football games are boring. It was like 3 or 4 years ago, where it was like I don't want to watch. Who's the guy from Denver, the tall guy who Houston wound up paying?
Osweiler.
Osweiler, yeah. Where you're watching this guy, he's like he looks like the prototypical quarterback. He could really sling it, and then he's throwing like dump offs -2 yards in the backfield because he can't.
He was like as good as Ryan Mallett in all reality.
Which Ryan Mallett is the same kind of guy. He's like, oh, look how big and tall he is. Yeah, but he can't like throw worse shit. He can't read a defense or do anything. So,
and like it comes to me. It's like, okay, like when we start saying if we paid Dak a 3-year deal, I honestly would be happier than giving him a 5-year deal. I'd rather get it because I just don't see, and maybe I still think it needs to be proven because the thing is. The Cowboys are the one team that I agree with hard more than anything else. That they're the one team in the NFL that's done has a lot of premier positions. It's really missing a complete quarterback, and I think it gets brought up against Dak. Because here's the thing: people are so switched off. Like if Dak, he's so quickly everyone to make fun of him, how he throws, what his accuracy is, blah blah blah. But then they'll use stats like, oh, he threw 4,900 yards. He threw 30 touchdowns. Like I don't want it's not a nitpicking thing. So you just watch the game and just see I think he is a very good quarterback. I think McCarthy is really good, but I also think that if McCarthy and them don't believe he's worth taking up X amount of our cap like that, I think it's the right move. I mean, we did get an offensive coach who does well with quarterbacks. We do draft well. We've drafted. I think we've hit on 8 of our last 10 first-round picks in 10 years. It's like minus the exception of Taco and what's his face? Who was the DB? Morris Claiborne.
Oh man, that was a terrible.
Yeah.
And I really liked him coming out of college too.
Oh man, we traded up for him.
So would you be more mad if they gave Dak a 3-year, $135 million contract or a 10-year, $300 million? I think I already know the answer. But 10 years,
just oh my god.
Then you're only paying him $30 million a year. Then you're only paying him $30 million a year, but then you have him for 10 years locked up.
Oh my god, dude, it'd be awful having it. That's like, just imagine that's like a horrible bill that comes in the mail that you'd never want to open.
You're gonna be like 35 by the time you don't have Dak.
Bro, yes. It's gonna be insane, and it's no knock to him.
But
big year if he
I
wants
don't
to
know.
get
It's
paid.
one of the,
He's got to have a big year to get paid. And by big year, he's got to win big. You can't just go to the playoffs and win a game.
yeah, it's one of the more like things that I feel like everybody has talked. It's one of the more. What was the last quarterback like this where it's like, do you pay him? Do you not pay him? Who?
Cousins.
I feel like it wasn't this bad though. Like,
he was sacked twice.
Oh yeah, that's true. I was thinking about who the fuck was I thinking about? Yeah, because Cousins was one of them. Was there a lot of talk? I don't remember after Flacco won the Super Bowl because they gave him a ton of money, and he had like one good run, but it was a Super Bowl run, and then he was just kind of set forever. And now he's a backup I don't know if he's gonna be a backup or a starter, but he's making like Cam Newton money right now.
He's the backup in like the Jets or something, I think.
I thought he was on like the Broncos or something like that, or that's where he was before.
Stretch, who's Flacco on?
Yeah, it's not worth it. I was just thinking about him though because they gave him
Broncos?
after the Super Bowl like
Let me get a little check on that one. I'm sorry, Mar. You opened up a hard one there. I'm like Flacco.
No, because he was on the Broncos because I made fun of Tiffany
Jets.
for it. Now he's okay. Yeah, Jets.
Jets. Oh, okay. He's backing up. Go Darnold.
I don't know who says backup. I think it's a QB competition right there. Things are gonna be heating up. Yeah, if you do have a quarterback competition there, I mean, there's some trouble.
I feel bad for Darnold. He's a quarterback. I didn't think like the most of him in college because I think when you saw him in the Rose Bowl face NFL talent when he saw Ohio State, you could tell he wasn't a top 5 pick. Like he didn't react whatsoever. Like they got dominated. You know.
I felt this way about like a lot of college quarterbacks where I would watch them and then they talk about them as NFL draft prospects, and I'm like, I know maybe I'm not like grinding the tape, but I feel like every time I watch this guy, I either lost money on him or they didn't look that great. Like Josh Rosen, I can remember watching him, and I was like,
yeah,
because you look at before the game, I'll look it up, and other than betting, I'll try to find a reason like, oh, who should I be watching? Who's going to be in the league next year? And they're like Josh Rosen, he's going to be like one of the best quarterback prospects, and I'd watch him and be like, this guy kind of sucks. I don't know, like, am I not seeing something? I feel like all of the USC guys too, like Matt Barkley and all these people. I'm like, the same thing for Trubisky. I don't want to like pile it on, but I watched him at North Carolina and he wasn't like good or anything.
They had hit like a 58-yard field goal to win the game against FSU. Like the kicker was a hero that game. Like it wasn't like Trubisky went out there and led a stampede against them or anything.
Yeah, like, nobody traded up for the kicker. What the fuck,
dude? Oh man, I don't know. I was never big on that one. Also because I thought Watson should have been the number 1 that year. I understand Mahomes was in that draft, but I thought at that time Watson should have been number 1.
And you can easily just like always say a guy's not going to be good, and you'll be right more times than you'll be wrong. But there's a lot of those guys. There's a lot of those guys where I was just like,
it's just like, oh man.
Yeah, I mean, he's gonna wind up being a backup real quick. Maybe
they
like probably
5 picks, didn't they? Like because they moved back 1 spot for him.
For Trubisky, they moved up 1 spot together.
3 to 2.
And they thought, which was dumb because they thought that San Francisco or somebody was going to either take him or trade up. Whoever that GM was, I'm pretty sure he's out of there right now.
Oh man, he's John Lynch. John Lynch is robbing people. I love it. He's still rocking souls in a suit now.
What a couple of other NFL things, just little things. Stupid Deshaun Jackson being Deshaun Jackson. Did you see that whole thing?
I did actually. I was kind of shocked. I was like, "Whoa, man!" I was like, "Hey, man,
I think the comments were shocking, but I wasn't shocked by who it came from because, like, he's like, "Oh, I didn't know what it meant," and I was like, "If you're gonna post something on social media and you have millions of followers, like, maybe know what you're attributing to it." It's like when girls or guys, I guess, on Instagram or Twitter, they'll be like, money can't buy life or something like that, and they'll be like Drake.
Hey man,
like
it was. I was really shocked that he didn't even run that through because these guys, like, he's not a nobody athlete. Like he's been in the league for a while. He knows how it works. So I figured he had a PR team or something like that, something to run. So hey, I'm thinking about putting this on my Instagram. Like I figured he may have like these guys may have some of that who've like are like more high profile players, and he clearly I don't know if I don't know how that made it through, but I was like, wow, man, I'm like if he doesn't have someone helping him with all that, because that's just stuff. It immediately like it gives you bad publicity in a really bad way because the owners and the GM, it's like it's not a good look. So
if people don't know, he posted something on Instagram or Twitter or something that was basically like a quote from Hitler. It was like, there's like one thing you don't do, like especially in times in support of Black Lives Matter or anything like what he's like saying things like Jews and stuff, and I'm like, whoa, what are you're going a little bit too far to the other side on this one, like, and it was like attributed to Hitler, and I'm like, anything that has like the little thing there and says Hitler after it, it's like maybe he could say like vanilla ice cream or vanilla sundaes suck, Hitler, and you're like, no, not right, he's not right. He can never say, can't say he's right on anything like that. But yeah, I wasn't surprised. This was just the Twitter version of him dropping the ball before he crossed the goal line.
If he gets cut, then if he gets cut, then the Eagles are that much worse. So it doesn't affect my Cowboys. I'll tell you that much.
Does it though? Because I just found out he was on the Eagles from this story. So, I mean, I thought he was still on the Redskins.
No, he had one big game against the Redskins last year and got hurt. Everyone swore he was gonna be like back to old Deshaun Jackson because he lit up the secondary of Washington Redskins. That's something.
He's like he's like that all-time guy in fantasy where everybody's had him one year on their team, and you don't have him in the lineup when he scores like 32 points, and then you put him in the next week and he has like one catch for 3 yards.
I know he was pretty good at returning punts. Stretch once told me that.
Stretch told you that?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Washington team, they're changing their name from the Redskins. I was wondering if you guys had any ideas for what they should come up with. I think my friend Tyler just said, so what are they going to be called? The shit bags or the shitty team? I don't know. You should probably come up with something more creative than that. I don't know.
You know,
the DC dipshits. That's like an alliteration right there.
No one Dan Snyder. He would just make his name the team name. Like just think how
he's like the Browns did it.
Like I could just the Snyders. Like what?
I mean, that would be perfect.
The Red Tails idea I saw was pretty cool. I know the Generals was a name that was also taken off. Who took off the Generals for themselves?
DC Generals.
Yeah, there was a team that took off the name Generals, and so that option was open. But like, I don't know. Like, quite frankly, like it's been like a complaint for I don't know, like 20 years now. So I'm glad the name's finally changing. That it's just getting settled.
I bet you he just thought like, oh man, am I going to be able to like sneak through this whole thing that's going on right now? And for a while, nobody had mentioned it. And then he saw he started sweating. He's like, fuck, I got to start coming up with some names. I know.
Like it was like it was out of pride he wouldn't do it. It's like, man, like you really look like a piece of shit for just not doing it. Like, okay, like here's what it like once you've like are educated on what like the terminology means and why it would have been somebody, you're like, okay, I could see why somebody would want that name change. You know what I mean? Like there's a sense if it's really that strong of an effect on a good amount of people, I can see why. But it's like at this point, it's like, Daniel Snyder, who's a kill, dude? Sorry.
Yeah, that's my whole thing about it. Like it doesn't offend me at all.
Anyways,
it doesn't offend me at all. But I'm also not a Native American, so I don't really get to decide. But if he wanted to curry some favor with the fans, I thought of this. He should just like put some names out there and let them vote. But
yeah, it's like who the hell's buying a Redskin jersey anyways?
I know, yeah. And there's gonna be like, there's gonna be Amazon said they were taking off the merchandise. There's gonna be like a flood of these like people who are like, if they're not the Redskins, I'm not a fan, and they're gonna just buy all the jerseys. I'm like, okay,
congrats. What game are you at? Because that stadium looks pretty empty consistently.
What name are you gonna get on that jersey anyway?
That's a hell of a fan base to give up on you. Like, oh man, you guys gave up on us.
And then Trump has to come out and say like, oh, these people who are changing their team names, these are historic franchises, and I'm like, I kind of get the history part because I heard they were good once upon a time, but they're pretty much a laughing stock for my whole life, I think. Like
he's also got a beef because the NFL wouldn't allow him to be an owner in the league too, and I think it's like, damn, we think NFL owners are bad people. Even they had trying to buy was the Bills, and Bon Jovi's team like didn't outbid them, but they took Bon Jovi's team.
Yeah, I mean, as much. Can you imagine? I don't even know what to say. Can you imagine him as like an NFL owner right now? Just
Dude,
like,
Jesus Christ.
if any of my players kneel, they're cut. Like, okay, good. Everybody kneel, and then you can have like the replacements. You can have Eddie Martell as your quarterback, or
I
whatever
guess
Keanu Reeves' name was.
maybe for the first time we see a white corner on the field in a while.
He's like, "Fuck this, I'm the quarterback."
Yeah, I guess just I don't know. I'm glad he didn't become into the NFL business. Sorry, bad enough. We got to deal with it now, man. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm glad that's like obviously like with Snyder changing it off now. Like I just it's the Redskins. Like people like that's what was keeping them in the news for so long. Not really truly about how they're playing. Like people would keeps in the news is like, oh, their shitty team name.
yeah. If you get a South Park episode made about you, you know you're in trouble.
Oh man.
um, uh, Baseball and basketball coming back. I've been hearing. We said something in the chat about David Price, your favorite guy,
David
opted
not
out.
worth the price.
Yeah, he thought it wasn't worth the price. But Jeff said that he thinks baseball is not coming back at all, which I thought they were only a couple of weeks away. But I guess there's been a couple people saying that they I think it was Buster Olney said he thinks there's a 1% chance that it starts and a 0% chance that it finishes. And I'm like, I'm watching MLS right now on TV. So what's the deal? So why are they not coming back? They already got the money settled and everything. So why is everybody so pessimistic?
I mean, I was kind of siding with it. I don't think the seasons are going to like actually finish out. Like, I mean, as soon as people start catching the virus, it's going to immediately put them away for X amount of time. And if you're doing that in basketball, like what happens if LeBron catches coronavirus in the middle of the playoffs? Like, what if he has to
Right,
miss?
but
What if he has to miss 2 games? Like, it's going to be a reality thing. I think they're just going to keep just out there playing guys and throwing guys out there. I'd be really shocked to see that. Like, I think the league at some point has to protect the players, or they will choose not to play.
Well, baseball, I can understand the point that I mean, there's no bubble. Everybody kind of laughed at them when they threw out the bubble idea first, and everybody laughed at the idea. And now that's what all these leagues are doing. Like MLS is playing at Wide World of Sports. That's where NBA is going to play. So for baseball, I kind of get it. If somebody gets it on the team, they're just stuck in that city and they can't fly or travel anywhere. Like there's not really a plan for that. The NBA, they're in the bubble, so like if LeBron gets it, that would be unfortunate for the Lakers. But then he just would be out of the bubble. Like you can't come back until you have two negative tests. But it's not going to be based on who gets it. I think it's the number of players that end up getting it. Like if the best player of every team gets it, maybe then something. But I don't really know how it's going to work. And if I'll tell you this, if golfers can't, because golf is doing pretty much the same thing, but they're still traveling city to city. But they've had people not follow the protocol, and you've had some of them like get infected, and then they infect other people because they don't wait for the test results. So if it doesn't work in golf, where it's only like 130 people, and I don't know how they're going to keep NBA players from going out and doing stuff like that. Not that there's like a ton of stuff to do in Orlando or anything like that. I mean, Disney's closed, but NFL was crazy because they said something about like, I wish I had the exact quote. I didn't have it looked up, but it's like they're planning on having fans in the stands. Like the Ravens said they expect to have like 14,000 fans in the stands, and they said that they're going to beat down the virus. The NFL said they're going to beat down the virus, and they're not. They said they're not concerned about player safety, which it depends like what inflection or what how you take that. But I was like, it doesn't seem like they have any kind of plan. They're just like, fuck it, we're coming back.
Yeah, but do you think like the NFL's not new to not care about player like safety? Like when they used to before they were called concussions, they were called migraines.
Right, yeah, and then Russell Wilson said that vitamin water, the bubbles could stop it.
Yeah,
it's gonna heal you from it. So Russell Wilson's gonna start selling vitamin water. He's like, it cures the corona. I know
it. You know what? Hey, I just think that like the NFL starting, I don't. Look, it also depends on everyone has a different opinion on the virus and the severity, and everyone just has their debate on it. And at the end of the day, like there things are still like our country's not ready for just things to shut down. That's just the reality of it. So I don't see like I can see the NFL going, but I don't see other sports right now trying to finish the season versus just trying to start up after the winter and kind of going into it. Okay, there's a vaccine, this and that. And they just keep everyone safe. I think the NFL is a different run like organization You know what I mean? Like I see basketball being more progressive, more pro player, obviously, than NFL is. You know, NFL is getting better at that, but I also see these NFL owners are like they can still make money off just apparel and just going out and just off TV contracts compared to.
Well, the NFL is tough too because they have like by far the shortest average player career. I think it was like 3.5 years maybe, and that even seems high for some of these guys who are just in and out of the league. But so if you're in that case, are you? I mean, how much better is it going to be to start next season than it is going to be to start this season? How much of your career can you afford to throw away? And it seems like messed up, but like they have much less of a choice to just sit out for a year or lose part of their career. Whereas a lot of these NBA guys, not that they have super long careers, the ones we know the most.
Jakeem Noah's still getting a job.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like NBA players, like the whatever the percentage is, like the 50th percentile for NBA players is making way more than the 50th percentile for NFL players.
Like Alonzo Mourning wore a suit for 3 years.
Look at Udonis Haslem. And it gets pointed out, and it's annoying. It happens like every summer where some crappy NBA player gets signed to like a 3-year $60 or $60 million deal in free agency. And then all these NFL players have to post like the side eye emoji. I'm like, well, then you should have played basketball because that's just the way the money works. It's not like
these. Sorry that you can't make $40 more million on top of your $85 million.
Well, every year it's like they need another year to figure it out, and it's like you're probably much better at what you do, but the Timothy Mozgov is going to be making more money than you this year. Sorry. The same thing for baseball. It's just I'm not saying it's right, but
I can tell you Stanton hasn't been worth the money. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, even if he's like, yeah, I'm not sure if I'm going to play. They're like, yeah, we know. We don't even care what the reason is. Like, we know you're not going to play.
Yeah, man. He's like him and Ellsbury, bro. It's like Ellsbury, but the contract's like 8 years longer than Ellsbury's. It's like, God, dude.
Did I miss anything? Is there anything else that you wanted to get into this week?
Oh, man. I mean, not that I don't think there's any more. I mean, hopefully there's going to be no crazy Deshaun Watson signs a $400 million for a 10-year deal. Because then I don't know what the hell is going to happen next with Dak Prescott. I can't think of anything crazy is going to happen, but we'll see. I mean,
if just every NFC East team just starts extending their quarterbacks to put pressure on the Cowboys.
Daniel Jones signs a 12-year,
$120 million deal.
It's team friendly.
It's team friendly though because they can cut him whenever they want, which is right now.
Jesus.
Oh man, yeah, Carson Wentz.
They back like Dan. Dan who though? Like
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino? Hey man, I'll definitely pay that. If he gets paid like Dan Marino, I'll be happy right now. I'll tell you that much.
I can't see the comments on here.
Daniel
Jones. Yeah, that's the platform that Stretch is running on this offseason is paid Dak like Pat.
Oh god, dude. I can't do that. It's not gonna happen, I promise you. It's gonna happen, but we'll see how bad. We'll see the damage when it's done.
Maybe they'll trade him for Jimmy Garoppolo straight up.
Listen, I would take at this point in my life, I would take one Super Bowl for a bad 6-year contract, to be honest with you. And I feel so bad saying this, but I'm like, like if I got guaranteed to win one Super Bowl with him, I'll take it. But I don't know. I don't think I'll get that one. So we'll see what happens, man. I hope nothing but the best, but I hope also at the same time that we don't go splurging on this because we think it's the only option when there's some good pickups in this draft coming up.
Yeah, I just got done watching Orlando City. They were down 1-0, but then they scored two goals in the second half. So hopefully a couple more wins like that, and they'll be in the Bundesliga.
Oh, dude, I feel so bad about talking about soccer. I didn't even know Orlando City was playing. Wow.
Yeah,